Hey Fur Faces, it is KlaireeBerry. I'm here today to talk with you about sugar. I was a little bit skeptical about this whole, Durian Rider, sugar is okay for you, because so many people just take it as a consensus that sugar is bad. We don't even need to read studies. It's like one of those things, like I knew veganism was bad, but I didn't read any studies on it. I just knew that it made people weak and frail and pale. So I didn't go vegan. I just knew these things because it's common knowledge. Sometimes common sense is not so common. So I want to look into this. When you see the media pushing something so hard, especially big, mass media, take note of that. And pretty much you want to do the opposite of what the mass media tells you to do. That's like a good rule for life. And I've done some research over the years, but I've also, more importantly, started in the past, I would say year or so, on and off, to experiment a little bit with adding in some sugar. But so now I'm kind of getting more into the research side of it, and I'm actually realizing that it's a load of bull. I'm actually going to make this a mini series because I have a lot of different topics within the realm of sugar, the sugar world, that I'm going to talk to you guys about. And it is a little bit controversial, but you know me, I'm not afraid of a little controversy, especially when I know I've done my research. So first things first, we have the neuroscientist at Cambridge, the Department of Psychiatry, among others, saying, that this is not a real thing. Sugar addiction is not real. How could it be? Oh my gosh, but the mass media tells us, but common sense tells us, everybody tells us that sugar's addictive. And well, I crave sugar, so it must be addictive, right? It must be as addictive as hard drugs, right? Everybody knows that, right? That's common knowledge now, right? No, it's not. I mean, obviously, if you are a critical thinker and somebody tries to tell you hard drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, these are the same as sugar? No. First of all, do you know you cannot even overdose on sugar? You can overdose on salt. That actual people die. Like, I don't know if it's like a certain number a year, but I think like at least 30, 40 people have died from salt overdoses in recorded history. So nobody dies off of sugar. You would have to eat so much sugar. It's like potassium overdose. Like, you would have to eat so many bananas. You would have to eat so much sugar that it's not even humanly possible. First of all, and this is huge, especially for vegans to understand, like 90% of animal testing that is done in vain completely, because it's untrustworthy. Not when you take an animal with a completely different system, the results don't apply. 90% or so of results do not apply. So that's one of the big reasons why us vegans are trying to get rid of animal testing. Obviously, it's cruel, but also you have that issue. So, of course, the main, and as far as I know, the only studies that are really trying to say that sugar is addictive are the studies that are done on rodents. So, red flag number one. Sugar actually, in the rodents, activates a different area of the brain, a little bit different area than drugs. So, that's your clue number one. Also, when you give repeated doses of sugar, the dopamine levels will actually return to normal. Go on with your life. You're fine. This is not true for hard drugs. Okay, so that's a huge difference that you have. It's like, this is just a natural dopamine spike, basically. Again, another difference, obviously, drugs are horrible for you. You can overdose on meth, you can overdose on cocaine, you can overdose on heroin, obviously. Almost every drug except for fucking marijuana, right? Can you overdose on sugar? No, we've already discussed that. You cannot. Maybe if you shot up yourself, but literally shoot yourself up with water or salt water or anything else, you're gonna also die. Just because it acts on somewhere close, to the same areas of the brain does not automatically mean that it's as addictive as hard drugs. So moving on to the next issue with these studies is that they're actually pre-selecting animals, rodents, that already have strong response to sugar. And not only this, but they're also doing these studies under conditions that are not normal, not your average environment. they're basically depriving them of food before these studies. So that kind of messes it up. It's just not your typical environment. And so again, it's not going to be applicable to your everyday life. Now, if you were a crash dieter, if you were anorexic trying to starve yourself, you know, maybe the results could be a little bit more applied, but even then, I doubt it, because again, that's not the only issue that we have here. So another thing I want to talk about is this is not talked about at all, is that sugar is actually okay in moderations. Most organizations, most studies that you would have read about this say that, about 9 teaspoons or less is okay. And drugs, not so much. Like, they're still killing cells. They're still hurting your body and acting negatively on your system, whereas sugar does not. Sugars are actually needed by our body. Like, we use them for energy. If we didn't have the sugar dopamine response, the pleasure reward, we would have died as a species. We would have starved. Very much two completely different things, even though they may be like somewhat similar pathways in the brain, somewhat close to each other in the same area. Another thing in regards to this, again, moderation is okay in this instance. Like I said, 9 teaspoons max. Most organizations will say that's still healthy. Okay. Do you know what the average person in America gets? 22 teaspoons a day. I do not even get that. And I'm a fucking high carb vegan, and I add sugar to my green juice, my smoothies sometimes, whatever. Sometimes. I don't do it all the time. But if I know that I'm not going to be, you know, having a lot of other food that day, or if I need something quick or whatever, you know, yeah, I'll add maybe a couple tablespoons. My average day, I'm getting all my carbs from natural sugars. So that's a lot of fucking sugar. 22 teaspoons. Sad thing is, average American children, you guys, this is crazy. My kids don't eat near this. 32 teaspoons a day. And here's the other issue with this, guys. These 22 teaspoons, this 32 teaspoons for children, what the fuck? Like, that's insane. This is not straight sugar. Maybe you might have some Kool-Aid, even in the case of Kool-Aid or soda, it's not just sugar. You're adding caramel color, which is connected to cancer. You're adding, who knows, high fructose corn syrup, GMO bullshit. Like, all of that is not going to help. And also, the type of sugar that's being eaten by most of these people, by your average American person, is shit sugar. It's white, it's bleached, it's got chemicals, additives, and it's probably also GMO'd, okay? The sugar I'm eating, when I refer to my sugar, this is what I'm eating. And if it's not this, and you can see the color of it right there on the sides, it's brown. It's not brown sugar, it's coconut sugar. It's more raw, it's unrefined. Lower glycemic index than cane sugar. It's got a great flavor. It's light caramel flavor, it says. But it's non-GMO, it's organic. So you're having a lot of extra things. And not only past the soda and all the additives in the sugar that these people are mostly eating, most of the products that are coming from this sugar are also filled with fat and salt. Because again, that's the magic number. This is the thing about going high carb vegan. Even if you find something that's vegan, even if you find something that's relatively low fat, it's still probably, once you eat it, a little bit of it, it's going to really add up, and it's going to have a lot of salt. And so let's just use this for an example. I've got 2 different pretty processed. These Belvitas are definitely more processed, I would say, than Cliff Bars. Cliff Bars are okay, you know, they're organic, they do have oil, they do have sugar, and yes, they do have sodium. Like, they're adding sea salt. So you're having this mix, this almost magic mixture. Let's look at these. 8 grams of fat, even higher in fat for Belvitas, 210 milligrams of sodium, and then 36 grams of carbs. So that's 13 grams of sugars, including 11 grams of added sugars. So again, you're getting sugar. And when you look at your average cookie, like this is somewhat healthy for processed food, right? When you're looking at things that are not vegan, when you're looking at things like, oh, I was gonna say Oreos, but those are vegan, you know, chips, cookies, muffins, cupcakes, everything like that. Again, we think of these things, even like pasta, we think of this as sugar, but then once we go and put butter, oil, Alfredo, whatever, Parmesan cheese, sugar's the least of your worries. You're having all of this other, again, this trifecta that is damaging as well. So it's really hard for a study, even if there was a study that, you know, these studies come out and say, oh, well, this is so damaging. Look, and like people say, look, people are eating more sugars and they're getting more unhealthy. So that means that obviously sugar's the culprit. Well, they're also eating more of these other things as well. We're eating more oils, we're eating more fat, we're eating more salt, we're eating all of this stuff in combination. We're just eating more in general. Most of these foods, not only do they contain all of this little trifecta, fat, salt, they're actually lacking in nutrients. Again, something like this, I mean, this is not organic. They add iron, they add stuff like this, but in your average like cookies and chips, they're not going to be adding nutrients in here. They're not going to have blueberry juice concentrate, whole grains, etc. I see people what they eat at work and I'm just like floored, like Cheetos, chips, Lay's, all the fucking time. Doesn't matter if it's breakfast time, cake, you know, muffins, pastries, things like that. They're going to be very lacking in nutritious foods. So when you learn about this stuff, you know that like when you put something good in with something bad, the good stuff, like the fruit, will actually blunt the glycemic index. It'll actually help. That's why glycemic index is bullshit, because it doesn't take into consideration like all of the interactions between the food. But when you don't have some good fruit in there, some good whole foods, something antioxidants, something positive in there to counteract all of this fat, all of this just this unhealthy food, it's void of nutrients. And so the effects on the body are so much worse. And that, again, you can't differentiate that in these studies that these people are doing on, you know, your regular average American eating all of this 22 to 32 teaspoons a day. So it's crazy. And again, there's been no study, none. Challenge you, if you want to fight me, then, you know, try to find me a study that proves that not less than 9 teaspoons of sugar a day is bad for you. Try it, I dare ya. You won't be able to find it. So also, you know, these rats in these studies, they don't do this emotional eating, they don't do this stress eating, which I'm not fully on board with completely. I saw somebody today, I'm stress eating an apple. Shut the fuck up, get out of here. Your fucking body needs that fucking apple. Go home, you know, eat 3 more while you're at it. It's so easy for us in this restrictive mindset that's pushed on us, especially women, from the day that we're born, basically, to think, oh, you know, I don't really need this apple and I'm just eating it because of stress, you know, I'm just so stressed. You may be stressed out, but the fact that you just got stressed out and now you need food is not just because of the stress. It's also because you need food, you need carbs, etc., etc., etc. But when you're restricting, when you're stressing your body out, and then you have, you know, this complex where you're getting, especially you have these foods that are, you know, the trifecta all together, you think it's the sugar, but it's really that addictive trifecta, that yes, you can have, you know, a point where you get to, especially when you, again, you're binging, you're restricting so much. And then of course you do the binging on these foods and you identify it as the sugar because that's what you're hearing, when in reality it's the fat and the salt and the sugar. Just keep that in mind. And again, the rats don't have really that response. They eat food to survive. So that's why they're okay with going for the sugar and eating the sugar. And it's just it's two different things. They're not going to overdo, you know, the sugar and whatnot, like people are going to overdo these foods, because the combination of these foods together, of this fat, salt, and sugars, is like, makes us want more and more and more. It tricks our body into eating more and more. That's the whole point, to consume. So when you're eating bananas, say, mostly sugars, like you don't have that added fat, you don't have that added salt. Do people have problems binge eating bananas? Okay, What about dates? I remember when I first went high carb vegan, and yes, I realized that vegans do this, high carb vegans, we do what some people would call binge eating these foods. It's because we're not actually binging, trying to do it early in the morning. It's intentional. We're doing it because we want to, because we believe that it's for our health and our body gets used to it. Maybe it craves it after a while, but I don't know about you guys, but when I started eating dates, I could only have a few dates. It actually gave me a headache at first. And I was like, is this healthy? Is this really healthy? But as I went along, my body got used to it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And now I feel like it's one of the most cleanest things that I can eat. And my body feels that way too. Digestion is fabulous. Great lasting energy, and I feel great. People aren't binging. Let's take a cube of sugar. People don't just binge on sugar. And even if they do, even in that situation, if I was eating some sugar, I would eat a little bit of sugar and then move on. You don't sit there, you don't find people just binging off of sugar, which again, you would if it was truly the sugar that was addictive. No. What are people abusing? What are people truly binging on? Fucking chips, cookies, crackers, muffins, cupcakes, cakes, ice cream, etc. All of those foods, all of the junk foods, pizza, hot dogs, all of this stuff, you're eating it. Combination, sugar, fat, salt. It's not the sugar. It's the magic formula that they've come up with, plus the chemicals, MSG type of shit like that they add, that keeps us binging. And again, it's very convenient for all these junk food companies to blame it on the sugar, and then they'll come up with these, say this, for instance, is there actually sugar added to this? I mean, everybody who quits sugar, what do? They replace it with something else. You don't just replace sugar with like stevia. No, you replace it with organic cane syrup, organic, brown rice syrup, organic invert sugar syrup. See, it's not sugar, it's sugar syrup. Stuff like that, organic glucose syrup. All of these things, are things that are now being added to the foods to play, just the same way that the sugar does. It's the same fucking thing, you guys. Don't get, even honey, it's all sugar. Maple syrup, it's all fucking sugar. Wake up. It acts the same way. You think you're busting your sugar addiction. You're not fucking doing shit. You're playing yourself. And I'm sorry if that's harsh, but sometimes people need to be smacked in the face before they wake up a little bit. But seriously, the products that are using this and saying, look, I'm sugar-free, I'm healthy, beat your sugar addiction, feel good about yourself, even though you're not losing any weight at all. Those type of products are still having the fat, and they're still having the sugar. I already said they're still having the sugar, and they're still having the salt, okay? So this is the same fucking thing. Another point, back to the dopamine response, the reward pleasure center in our brains. The fact that sugar plays on this and the fact that drugs play on this doesn't mean a damn thing. Because guess what? Naps, sleep, also uses the same dopamine pathways response system. Exercise, sex, human connection, all use the same dopamine response system. Are these things bad for us? No, these things, again, necessary for our survival. Huge difference. Again, the issues with sugar feeling addictive, with binging on sugar like substances and sugary products, besides all the chemicals that I've been harping on, a lot of it has to do with the deprivation, with the restrictive lifestyle, because that's when we feel out of control. That's when we get to the point where we do the binging and we can't control it. And so it feels like an addiction, but it's not an addiction because our bodies need fucking carbs, okay? Carb the fuck up. You will think better. You will sleep better. Everything. You will feel better. You will look better if you eat your fucking carbs. And again, if you're eating fruits, starches, sweet potatoes are my favorite thing in the world, beans, healthy crackers, whole grains. If you're filling yourself up and letting your body tell you what you need rather than you trying to say, oh, I only need, because I'm on a diet, I only need 1,200 calories a day. I used to try to do that shit and it didn't work for me. It might have worked for a little bit, but guess what? I would just blow back up to where I was as soon as I would eat more, which is very soon. There's a T. Colin Campbell quote that I shared on one of my Instagrams, one of my side Instagrams, which is Carbosis Claire. And I've got a lot of quotes that I have posted on there if you want to go check it out. But he talks about it in a very simple quote. It's not, I don't remember the quote exactly right off the top of my head, but calorie restriction doesn't work for most people. It just doesn't. Most people cannot sustain it enough and long enough to have sustained and lasting weight loss. So that's why eating, natural whole foods and filling up on the good carbs is best. And honestly, you guys, I used to work in the daycares, and every other time we'd have cookies and this and that everywhere and every party, and I was never the person that had the willpower. This is not about willpower. I never thought I would be able to turn down even one day of cookies, cupcakes, oh my God, icing. I love that shit. I love it. How do I do it? How do I turn it down? I was offered, my coworker was like, oh, what's that? Because I'm always interested in what are people are eating, even if, I'm not even interested at all. But it did look good. I mean, if it was vegan, I probably would have tried it. It's like back in the day, I never would have thought that I could go vegan and turn that shit down. Never. And the only reason I can is because it's not willpower. It's because I'm carved up. And even if it's in the morning, because this was in the morning and I hadn't had sugars yet, I might have had some green juice, probably even not that at that point, but I was still not undercarbed from the day before because I eat so many carbs. It's like I'm on an even keel now. So it's only when you're restricting yourself do you get that out of control feeling. It's not about, sugar in my system at every second of the day. It's just like, again, you would be eating sugar cubes. And it also, one little last thing is that it also has to do with mouthfeel to a certain point. Like a lot of our addictions, it's not necessarily to a sweet food or, this or that. And again, salty is some of the most things we binge, but a lot of times we're just looking for the right crunch. And a lot of times, when you're really truly like addicted to something, or you really are, craving, wanting to binge on something, it's because of the crunch or the soft bread feel. It's not just sugar. Like it doesn't have that extra effect that helps really foods to be more truly addictive. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Is this a load of bullshit? Now here's the deal. If you guys are gonna come on here, especially you fucking carnivores, you're just making yourselves look dumb if you're just leaving stupid comments. A, you didn't watch the video, why are you commenting if you didn't watch it? Or B, you have no good points to say. So it's like, I appreciate all of your comments, regardless of how idiotic they are, honestly. But why don't you, if you disagree, I don't understand. And if I'm so dumb and all of this stuff, then why can't you tell me why? Because that's what all I'm doing here with all of my low carb, carnivore, all of my videos that are in this sort of genre. I'm getting into reasons. I'm not just here like sharing my opinions, saying, oh, carnivores are dumb, like they're just dumb, like your comments are. Like, if you're gonna leave a comment, it would do you better to like actually have a good comment. But anyway, let me know, like I said, what you guys think. Thank you so much for all your support. Be sure and subscribe and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and leave me a comment, like I said, whatever you think. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, and lots of studies at KlaireeBerry.com. And yeah, and don't forget to eat your fruit. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye.